Did you know that the best place to view the project is through the website theythemproject.org? It's the only place that you can see all the photos, videos, and podcast interviews and easily share the project to help us grow and inform. Do your part and make a difference. Share the project through theythemproject.org. Hello, my name is Brent Dundor. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a full-time photographer, artist, activist and ally, and I am the proud producer of the They Them Project. They Them Project interviews non-binary individuals, offering a platform for them to be seen and heard while informing and educating everyone on how words and actions affect the trans plus community.
Hi, my name is Zeam Porter. I am a gender nihilist. I use the pronouns they, them, or Z if you love me.
Welcome, Zeam.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your pronouns with me.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Brent, and I use he, him, his pronouns.
Nice.
What is a gender nihilist?
Okay, yes. So this is a concept that is just starting to formulate, and I can't give credit where credit is due because I'm not exactly sure who coined it. But gender nihilism is basically seeing that, okay, if gender is a social construct, I kind of want to say to heck with it and create my own world where ambiguity is more important than binary structures. So that means like believing that when we have to fill out forms, when it comes to gender, it should just be blank. Like people should put in their own. If people have no gender, that is cool as well. If you have a gender and want to express it, that is fine. But expressing gender is not the main point or focal point of what you do.
You said expressing gender is not the main focal point.
Yeah, basically what I mean by that is it's a mindset or way of living where it's like gender is this broader thing and very performative that I don't have to perform every day. So I wear what I want to wear, not because the world is going to see me a certain way, but because it makes me feel good. And it might align with my gender, it might not, but I'm no longer concerned with the connotations that are attributed to everything if they are gendered or binary and through a lens.
And it sounds like you're also fighting against the idea of any construct that is going to ask you of that. Right.
And I think that taking that radical standpoint will just make it easier for folks. Like I by no means think that everyone should be a gender nihilist just because then what would I have special to say? Just kidding. But I definitely think that having a radical stance on it and be like, instead of trying to move the needle a little bit, what if we had nothing to push? What if we just left it open? I know a lot of people like to see gender on a spectrum of a line. I like to take that line and bend it into a circle and say that let's all exist inside the same party.
All right. So usually I go into those types of questions after asking a series of other questions.
Right. Sorry, I skipped you.
I'm excited to... All right. So let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's reel it in a little bit.
Zeam, would there ever be a time you would be upset if someone asked what pronouns you use?
Never. I don't think asking me what pronouns I use is the best question ever because it shows that you care about my agency when it comes to how people gender me or how we gender others. So if you're saying like I'm giving up my power, I'm giving up my stance of assuming something, and I really just want to hear what you have to say so that you have full agency and autonomy over not only your body, but how you present that body is amazing and fantastic.
Do you prefer specific pronouns in certain places or instances? Or do you use any at all times?
Right. See, because I'm gender fluid or gender queer, meaning that depending on the day, my presentation is going to change. I really just like Z because it's based off my name. And I want to live in a world where people have to know your name because I feel like we've lost that aspect of society. Or if they don't know your name, they're willing to learn it. So the first question should even be, what's your name or who are your people? You know what I mean? Like, how do I connect to you? Other than like, who are you? Are you a boy or a girl? What pronouns do you use? Because oftentimes now I think that what pronouns do you use are a nice way or kind of the moderate way of being like, I can't gender you, so what's good? And I think there should be a world where it's like, I'm not trying to gender you. That's not my main focal point or focus point. My focal point is you. And what do you have to bring to the table? Or how can we love one another? How can we love each other?
So today, I would show you love by using Z pronouns.
Yes.
How much responsibility do you think should be put on others to ask your pronouns or for you to tell others your pronouns?
That's a very great question because, like there's a difference between fault and responsibility. It's no one's fault if they misgender me if I haven't said anything, right? It is their responsibility to ask, and it's my responsibility to advocate for myself and tell. So normally when I introduce myself, I will be like, I'll ask somebody else, what pronouns do you use? Because I use pronouns that you might not necessarily guess. So basically, I think it's just like any great relationship. It's a two-way street. There's responsibility on both ends.
You're the first person to answer exactly that way, and I'm trying to now think back to exactly what you said. You said that if you haven't told someone your pronouns, then
it's not their fault that they misgender you. I think I want to be radical enough to say that like anybody gendering anyone is wrong. Everyone should use they, them pronouns. But like that's not the world we live in. And I think a lot of people say they, them is also a gender. I don't think that like, or is it has connotations of being with a gender, right? Like you think they, them, and you think non-binary. You don't think a gender or someone who does not have a gender. So therefore, we are creating another box, which is great because the more options we have, the more liberation people will feel. But I hope to one day exist in a world where we don't have boxes. And if that's not possible, I want to know why.
There's some people from the project that have said that everyone should take responsibility for asking someone else their pronouns.
Right.
But that's different, I think, than what you're advocating here.
Yeah. The reason I don't want to say that is because I don't want people to believe that my identity and my agency has to do with an outside force. So I'm not going to say like, oh, if we all just ask each other's pronouns, then the world will be all right. No, because then that takes my gender and my identity out of my hands and gives it over to the community, which is maybe utopic expression of it, but I don't think we live in a utopia, right? Like my identity and my agency can never be given into someone else's hands. So I think it's important that we say it's important for everyone to be open-minded, and if they ask for pronouns, great, but what we really want is people to be receptive when people have their own agency to say what their pronouns are. And if they change, that's not questioned. Like I feel like if you put it on the world in order for you to have independence or identity, then the world will never totally give it to you.
Yeah, so I want to like pull this apart a little bit.
Let's do it.
So this project, the goal that I start out the project asking people that very first question, would you ever be upset if someone asked you your pronouns?
Right.
And every single person in the project has said no.
Right.
Including you, per se.
Exactly.
But now we're challenging that idea that we shouldn't have to.
I just want to know, why are we so hung up on gender? Why is gender one of those identities that like, if there's any ambiguity or if we leave it outside the room, all people are a little bit hesitant or a little bit anxious. I think we should live in liminal spaces where it's not definite. It's not finite.
To me, it's all about showing that you want to respect somebody. That's where it all starts.
Yes.
And intent behind the questions that you ask. But I like that challenge of the idea that if you're asking someone their gender in the same way you might be trying to put them into a box.
Yes.
But anyone, and now I'm challenging it maybe too much.
Challenge it. Come at me with everything.
If you ask someone their pronouns, then they can always have the chance to say what they want. It doesn't have to be they, them.
It can be anything.
Right.
But why, I guess my question, in a world where we weren't on a time schedule, we needed things like this, and I needed to make sure that the person validated and understood my identity in order for us to move forward on what we're doing, I would ask the question, if someone asked me my pronouns, I'll be like, why? Why can't you use my name? Like, I want to, like, being a gender nihilist, I want to live in a world where names are important. People's individual stories are important and how they connect to everyone. Like, I want people to be like, not that, I think our identities will become even more important and even more grounded if we're able to see individuals first. So I don't need to know your pronouns because I'm going to use your name.
Is there ever a time that that's not easy to do?
Oh, it's not. I don't do it myself. It's a goal that I hope to obtain, and I want others to join me on. It's not something I have in the present. It's something that I work on every day.
So that question actually wasn't a challenge. It was like, can you tell me an instance where you found that it's impossible? Because without me like thinking about this for 20 minutes, can you tell me if that is impossible in certain?
Yeah, I mean, if people don't know you very well, or like it just sounds clunky in our mouths, like we get used to how language sounds, and if when we're introduced with a new language pattern, it's hard to get that rhythm and beat, right? So while my mother just uses Z for me a lot of the time because it's also my nickname, right? So she'll be like, oh, can you grab Z? Z's things is over here. That's a perfect example of not using pronouns of like Z, but other people might sometimes in the jumble of that be like, excuse me, what'd you say? And they'll be like, oh, Z, my child, their things are over there. And then people will be like, oh, okay. You see the difference in cadence and different in rhythm is when like people who aren't, their ears are not attuned to hear Z, it causes confusion all over the place. Or even like people in my life who are very close to me, they switch back and forth between Z and they.
So when you say that you use Z pronouns, it's more referring to your name. Like
yes.
And a name or possibly a nickname to Zeam, or would you go as far as to say it's a nickname? Like
yes, I would say that.
Okay, because I haven't said yet in this project, but we've worked with each other previously in another project, and I knew that you use. I think you said that you use Zim pronouns, or no?
I think I just said Z.
Okay,
but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, I don't know for sure. But I thought coming into this interview that you used they, them, Z, Zim, and you prefer Z. But it makes more sense as to what Z represents to you then, now that...
I just wonder, like, when we do data and stuff, right? People say that gender is important for people's medical and safety stuff. Like, if we don't know who they are, if there's not a gender marker on their identity, how would we ever find them in a crisis, right? There's other characteristics of our bodies and of our minds that could definitely just as easily be used as markers, I believe. And I just always want to challenge in whatever I do of a binary structure, or even if we make it a trinary. I'm making that word up. Let's hope trinary is a thing. Or a triple structure, right? I'm saying like, yes, we can build. The more boxes we have, the bigger our home. But I'm looking like, what home are we creating in the sense? And who is it really for?
How long have you used Z or they, them pronouns? Tell me a little bit of your journey here.
Yeah, my journey is a long one. So I came out when I was a junior in high school, and I used they, them for maybe 2 months, and then I started using he, him, his pronouns. And then from there, I think I used he, him, his for about 2 years. And then after I graduated high school, I was like, I actually like they, them, because I like the ambiguity it gives me. I like how it's not just a fixed point. I like how we can move, how I can move in it. And so I went back to they, them, and I've been using they, them now for 2 years.
So you've said that people using Z pronouns to you shows you love. I want to understand exactly what the love means. So what you were just saying is you still connect with they, them pronouns.
Very much so.
So where is that like, tell me more about what that love represents.
Yeah, so like using Z, it really originates or starts with my mom. I noticed that my mom would just use Z as a shorthand for both as a nickname, but also instead of pronouns. And I sometimes wonder if is that just a comfortability thing? Like if she's just worried about her comfort of not having to use he, him, his, or they, them, like is it just like a cop out? But then I realized I was like, this person gave birth to me, this person has raised me, and this person, like even when I changed my name, like my birth name actually is a combination of both of my parents' first name. So, and that's part of our tradition and culture. So like changing my name also meant that they wouldn't walk with me in the same way. Because when people say my name and not my birth name, there isn't a call to them or a reference to them as much, right? So my mom, even respecting my name truly and wholeheartedly, means she's accepting that I carry her and carry her legacy differently. So I think when I say you love me, I mean all that comes with it. When you say Z, there's a new history there. We're creating a whole new world where my pronouns are fixed and point on my individual identity and my family history and my cultural history. And I'm wondering what would it look like if we loved each other enough to ask someone's name and then create nicknames for them and use that instead of pronouns like my mother did for me, and I know it's possible because she did it. And since I know such a radical notion is possible because someone did it, and it's interesting because like people say black women start everything, and like this black woman birthed an idea or a concept for me that I feel more grounded in. I think if we all got on board with it, it would just lead to new possibilities and new questions, just like they them has.
When did your mom start using Z and they them pronouns for you?
Yeah, well, she started using Z when I started my name, when I changed my name.
Did you change your name before you started using other pronouns?
No, I simultaneously, like when I realized what it meant to be trans, and like and that I was trans, once I started identifying as trans, I like came up with a name for myself, and everyone said it sounded like an alien, but like just like the same tradition of like taking two words and combining them. My name is Zest and Gleam put together, so I still walk in my tradition, I still walk in my culture, but just in a new way. Okay. So once I started using Zeam, which is junior year of high school, my mom started using Z.
Yeah, I want to give as much credit to your mom and
yes,
as possible.
Please do.
When do you think it was that you first started to think about gender in general?
Yeah, it's kind of a sad story, but like I really assumed everyone just memorized gender and had to do it every day and was reminded about it. In high school, once I realized that, in middle school, once I realized I was queer, I started having night terrors because I was like very much in a Christian world. And while it wasn't told to me explicitly that queer people were going to go to hell, it was implicit in the sense that I just knew. And so being plagued with night terrors of where I could feel the sensation of my skin burning, I stopped sleeping. And when I stopped sleeping, I stopped being able to cope with other things. And so I got into self-harm. And so there would be days where I wouldn't have eaten in 3 days, I wouldn't have slept in 3 days, and then I would have lost a lot of blood. Now, trying to remember anything when you're in that condition is very hard, but trying to memorize entire social construct that never really jammed or jived with you is extremely hard. So I just asked one of my teachers, I was like, isn't it hard some days to remember what bathroom to go to? And I remember them looking at me kind of with a gleam in their eyes, being like, I think I see a child of mine. I think I see a sibling. And be like, do you understand? And them being like, have you explored Tumblr? Have you explored trans identities before? And I was like, what's that? And we sat down and we had a conversation right before GSA. And I looked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't something that everyone memorizes, and it's just like a thing that you like. I really associated gender with my social security number. Like I thought they were the same and on the same level for everyone. It was a hassle, it was hard, but we all just did it because it made things run smoothly. So once I was in the condition where I could no longer physically, spiritually, or emotionally handle all the lists of things we're supposed to memorize, and I shared that with someone, they were like, let me tell you, you don't have to. And I was, but not in those exact words, but that sentiment. And from then on, I was like,
Can you give specific examples of a time when someone challenged your gender and how it made you feel?
I just remembered a very good one, and I'm excited about this. Okay. So I was on the bus and there was a mother with her children in front of me, and there was 3 kids, and I want to say their ages were around like 10, 8, and 6. So very much like do. And as soon as I got on the bus, I was wearing a jersey that day and ripped up jeans, and my hair was out like in just my curly afro. So on days like that, a lot of people, and it was after top surgery, on days like that, a lot of people question or look at me or will do a double take, but I don't get too much traction, I think, as far as people just assume, basically, whatever would make them feel better, they just assume. But in particular, these 3 children were in front of me, and their seats were supposed to be facing forward. But as soon as I got on the bus, I saw their heads and their bodies move along with me, just curious. And so I sat right behind them, and they turned around. And I will never forget, they were all sharing one piece of gum. And I was just so like enthralled by that they would be cool enough with taking out this piece of gum and putting it in each other's mouths and just sharing this piece of gum. But they were staring at me, and it was popping. It was like, pop, look, like it with this gum. And finally, the youngest out of them was like, are you a boy or a girl? And typically with children, I look at the parents, and see what the parents say. But the mom had headphones in, was doing a lot, didn't care. So I just said, I don't know. And the kid asked me again, like, well, you have to know, like, are you a boy or a girl? And I just said, I truly don't know. And the youngest said, okay, and turned around. The other two kept looking at me until I got off the bus, but I thought it was really interesting how this like little kid would just chew the gum and be okay after asking me twice what I was.
Do you want to tell your other one?
I was at this party and I felt really cool, felt really like I knew what I was doing. And then this guy just beelines it to me, comes up into front of my face and goes, "Are you a nigga?" And I'm like, don't know what to say really, because this was one of the first cases where I felt good about my presentation because I just knew I was hitting it. I just knew I looked like a guy. It was fine. No one questioned me. I thought I was passable. But then here comes this dude, not aggressive per se, but definitely like, I need to know the answer to this question right now. And so I just say no because I assumed that he was unsure. And that would be safer of an option. He goes, "Oh, good. Because if you were, I would think you the prettiest nigga I've ever seen, and I'm not attracted to dudes." So then I realized in that instance, and then I just walked away. But then I realized in that instance that like, if people are attracted to you and they cannot tell your gender, they feel like that reflects badly on them. And that's when I first learned that like how I identify and how I walk in this world is going to impact other people and how they identify in this world.
In that example, would you say that validated as like in some way too, or no?
To be honest with you, the days I get asked, "What are you?" no matter how rudely it is said to me, are the days I count as a win. Because if you can upset someone, I know this sounds awful, but if you can upset someone because they don't know what your gender is, you have rendered gender unimportant. And I think that's what my goal in life is, like always asking the question, like, why is this important? And I understand that for some trans folks, their gender not only validates them, but makes them feel good. And I say, that's amazing. And I think that should stay. But why can't we exist in a world where gender isn't one of the most important markers in our life?
Do you feel race plays into gender identity and acceptance of someone's gender?
Wholeheartedly. I think because European beauty standards are the norm and are what's validated in society, it makes it extremely harder for certain other races to pass. Not that passing is the most important. I also think that different races, you have to think about colonialism as well and know that like playing with sexuality and playing with gender was used to validate the conquering of certain lands. So that means that if we bring historical trauma and historical memory into this, that like existing as a trans person of color, existing as a First Nation or Native person of color or a Native person means that you are, if not undoing, your existence challenged the colonialism that has been validated through your identity or identities like yours. And then being black, to be black is to, in some ways, is to be made androgynous because it's easier to vilify. So if you look at in history, the black manhood has always been something that has been scared of or has been seen as predatory, and then like being a black woman has also been turned into this aggressive nature. Therefore, when you are both black, queer, and trans, or just black and trans, you are fighting against two systems that are interlocked. And when things are interlocked, they're stronger. So you have to be stronger in the sense your identity is stronger in ripping that intersection apart in order to live in your truth and live in your intersecting identities. But to remove something that is interlocked takes more steps. So there's more oppression you face because it's not like I'm just clearing a path for me to exist. You have to untangle and then clear.
I really appreciate the way that you put all that. So in the same way that certain things can oppress, it can also give you power.
Exactly. Because when you exist at intersections, you see how they're interlocked and you see how social constructions uplift each other. And so it's like being given, you know, those three glasses in the past that had one red patch and one blue patch. Imagine the world that a lot of people with not intersecting identities are only given a blue or a red. So certain things that are three-dimensional can't be seen. Whereas the more identities you have, the more colors your glasses have, and so you can see more dimensions.
I've learned so much from this project, and one of those things is to really understand privilege.
Yes. Privilege comes at a cost, though. No one talks about that. Privilege comes at a cost. Like, because you are privileged in some areas, you have ignorance in others.
Well, it's basically to the question or the comment that I made, that I appreciate what you had to say. It feels like it's wrong for me to give appreciation for the fact that you feel empowered, or like, but that is what I feel. Does that make any sense?
Yes, that does make sense. No, that makes sense. Like,
because I shouldn't be able to say, oh, you can feel empowered.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My power can't be wrapped up in you giving it to me, because then you hold all the power still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on that, maybe to understand it even more.
Yeah, exactly.
But with all of this idea of challenge, that we challenge towards empowerment, I want to ask you another question of, what is your opinion towards the fact that I'm a cis individual doing this project?
I think it makes sense. I think that, to me, a cis person doing this project is realizing that, oh, I have an outlook and a perspective that other cis people also have, but are too scared to ask. So I'm going to use my privilege, in a sense, to do the theatrics, or make a spectacle of things, in order for people to learn from it. Because I can ask questions that a cis person is gonna that cis folk are gonna want to know, that like a trans person might not think of. So I'm creating a platform where trans folks get to speak for themselves, but for an audience that I think is cis. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, if I didn't know you and didn't respect and admire your work and knew your intention behind the project, I might talk stuff about it and be like, see, here's another cis person just trying to play into the game of a trend because our identity has been made into a trend. But since I know you and I know your intention, I know that you are really giving a platform so that the story is told correctly. I wonder, I don't know how much to push back on this.
Please.
Did you ever feel bad? Did you ever feel like you were like profiting off of these stories?
I have yet to.
Right. But do you feel like is that your concern?
Say that again. So is that my intent? Is that maybe
I don't know if it's even your intention, but like, is it on your radar that I believe this project could gain a lot of traction, and it should gain a lot of traction, and it's necessary to gain a lot of traction. It is necessary for this project to gain a lot of traction. I wonder how people are going to feel about it, though, if they perceive it to be a profitable one. Because I would ask you, like, do you think this project would be made if you were not the one to do it? And I think the answer would be no. I think that if a trans person was doing a project similar to this, it would look totally different. I think a trans person should take on something and should be inspired by this project and do something with it and have their new intentions. But I don't think like this direct set of this project you were doing, I don't think it would be done if you weren't the one doing it, because you're unique and your outlook and intentions are unique for this. While it's for a greater purpose, I do know that some people, when money is involved or like fame is involved, people are like, you see, the credit's not due, because we have the scarcity model that we live in and not an abundance one. So how are you trying to create abundance for the community you're representing?
Well, first of all, your question has that's the total double-edged sword question.
Yeah, it
is. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what end of that I should speak on. But the place where it all comes together are the images, the photography. Because what I'm going to start to do with the project is have the gallery, and I want to go to events where people are going to have these faces, your faces, there, and they're going to have to read your answers to questions. It's going to make them think, and it's the images that really, I feel, pull it together. This, what we're doing right now, you're looking into the camera, we're having an interview. This is all you. This has nothing to do with me, except for when I get a little selfish and ask questions and ask you to ask me questions.
Right.
So Zeam, through the project, I'm always wanting to give space to people to advocate for something that they work towards and that they're passionate about. Before we started the interview, I think that you had talked about 45 different things that you do.
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to emphasize in this space?
Yes, my friend and dream partner, Juliet Myers, and I have started a nonprofit called Build Volume, and now we're working with Face Forward, which is also a arts nonprofit, in order to cultivate space for artists whose work aligns with social justice issues. So if everyone could check out Build Volume and Face Forward, it would mean a lot to me and a lot to the artists who we hope to create space for.
Where can they do that? Where can they find you?
Build Volume is both on Facebook and Instagram, and Face Forward as well.
If someone has a hard time remembering, understanding, respecting someone's pronouns or gender, what suggestions do you have for them?
You know what? When I first came out, a lot of my aunties and uncles who accepted me, because I have a lot of cousins and a lot of aunties and uncles, they would practice with each other. And I think by using sentences with my name in it, helped them. So just practice and also make it intentional. So like, not just like, oh, their chair is over there, this person's over there. But remind yourself, again, it goes back to love. Why do you love this person enough to validate their gender identity? Because it is an act of love when you do so. So just start talking about that person and the things you love about them, and you'll have to use pronouns and you'll be able to get it. But if you ground it in a sentiment that warms your heart, it's going to stay there.
What advice would you give to your younger self or youth who might be listening to this and questioning their gender identity?
The only way out is through. This time in your life is a stage, and you are on one, so all eyes are on you. Do it beautifully.
What advice do you have for parents who may have children who are questioning their gender identity?
You're the lucky one in this situation. You're lucky because your child is your liberator from gender roles. So give them everything they can and support them the most, because their existence is helping yours.
Is there anything else you would like to say to anyone listening?
If you've been hearing this podcast, I've tried to keep it playful and honest, while also challenging larger systems. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me personally, but also ask the questions to yourself first. And if there's any tension you have with what I say, look into that, because I'm trying to create tension.
All right, so if people do want to contact you, where do they contact you?
Find me on Facebook. My name is Zeam Porter, ZeamPorter. Or you can direct message me on Instagram. My handle is transblkprints.
In addition to the website, They Them Project is everywhere. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or Google Play. Remember, the project grows and informs only when it is shared by people like you. Go to theythemproject.org and share what you see and hear.